Friday show. So excited. Yeah. We get back up, dust ourselves off, and do our Friday thing. This guy is so much a part of Fridays. Big part of our life. Music, television, streaming, movies. His sophisticated takes extend from subtitled Korean films to some underground offering that he saw at Sundance to the mainstream world of Marvel and that whole universe. He's the great Michael Snyder, and he comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for Michael? What's up, Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster?
Well, huzzah, Mark Thompson. So glad we're back together, albeit separated by most of a state, I guess. And until next week, I think I will be back in the LA area, but I'm still reveling in the aftermath of this holiday. Actually, I know it's kind of a loaded question, but how was your Independence Day, Mark?
It was quiet, as I recall. What did you do? What did you do?
Well,
the Culture Blaster?
Mine was very somber. Let's just say that after the events of last week, no one would blame me for downing a fifth on the 4th, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
Did you go watch something at a fireworks display, Chrissy Field or something like that?
No, I clambered up to the top of Russian Hill, and I watched the fireworks display on the bay. And if you follow me on Instagram, I am Mike the Knife 123. You'll see a nice shot of a fireworks thing that I'd never seen before, cascading sparkles like a waterfall, only done in fireworks. It was so beautiful. And, I felt kind of good about the country for about an hour. And then I started thinking about what went down last week. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, what do you have for us this week? I want to know about what's going on with this. I know you'll get to it, the Beverly Hills Cop movie.
Well, let's get to the monkey business at hand. I want to preface this by saying if you're a movie reviewer trying to cover a broad swath of movies every week, choices have to be made. For instance, I did not review the 3-hour-plus Kevin Costner Western epic Horizon, which I refer to as Kevin's Vanity. I didn't do it last week. It was not screened for the critics or many others, as far as I can tell.
And that's always a bad sign, right, Michael Snyder?
You are absolutely right. And there was no way I was going to a theater on Thursday night to sit through it if the studio was so bearish on it that they didn't make a readily available screening for reviewers. As for this week, the ostensible crime thriller Boneyard did not make the cut, with a cast top-lined by Mel Gibson, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, and Brian Van Holt. How could I possibly pass on it, you might ask? Anyway, seriously? Caveat emptor. So what do we have on tap on the movie front this weekend? I want to start by noting that I did a Voice of San Francisco piece discussing franchise fatigue a few weeks back. You can dig it up at thevoicesf.org. And it was all about the increasing dissatisfaction with or the generation of big budget blockbuster film properties that are cannibalized over and over by studios as safe bets to generate big box office. And this sort of bottom line stuff is less to do with art and creativity and more to do with milking cash cows instead of investing in new film projects and fresh ideas. Now, sometimes the sequels and prequels are quite good and worth seeing. I mean, recently we had Inside Out 2 from Pixar and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and they were both really top drawer as far as I was concerned. And that is too often not the case. A few weeks back, we had the release of Bad Boys 4, aka Ride or Die, decades after the first of these Will Smith, Martin Lawrence buddy cop pictures. And this new one struck me as a crass money grab that had its moments, admittedly. As for this week's movies, they include 3 sequels of varying quality. And let's see what I think of them. What do you say?
No, I would like a longer preamble if you could. What is going on here, Albert? He does a 2.5 minute preamble. My God. Hey, get to the movies already. My God, sir.
I'm not the one that's running late, Mark. Well, I guess I am now. Okay, so let me zip through this. I just want people to understand it's a syndrome in the movie business. So, Despicable Me 4. That's right, there's four of them. It's the latest movie in the frenetic cartoon film franchise from Illumination Animation that gave Universal Studios the incredibly marketable Minions, those little grinning yellow one-eyed mischief makers who serve as the now former supervillain Gru's shock troops and all around kid-friendly hench creatures. They have become, in some ways, the most important or valuable asset in the Despicable universe. If you go on the Universal Studios tour in LA, I assume you're assaulted by employees in Minion costumes until you buy a Minions t-shirt or a plush toy. So the Minions have proven so popular that they had two of their own movies, including a young Gru origin story, in addition to the linear gruesomeness with Steve Carell voicing the megalomaniacal but often inept Gru, a guy who wants to rule the world until he is swayed by love, specifically love for three orphan girls, and for Lucy, a cheerful can-do woman voiced by Kristen Wiig, and he changes his ways. So Gru is now an agent of the Anti-Villain League. He's married to Lucy and is undercover in the suburbs with her, their three adopted daughters, those aforementioned orphans, and their newborn baby boy, Gru Jr., who, by the way, could possibly face a lawsuit from baby Jack Jack of Pixar and Disney's The Incredibles, since he is absolutely the spitting image of Jack Jack. And, you know, Disney is notoriously litigious. But let's move on to the movie itself. Legal issues aside, villainy is still out in the world in the form of Maxime Limal, voiced by Will Ferrell, and his nasty girlfriend Valentina, voiced by Sofia Vergara, who are planning to take down Gru and his family for the sheer evil of it. They are singularly unimpressive and unfunny adversaries, Mark. Oh, yeah. There's a waspy couple voiced by Stephen Colbert and SNL's Chloe Fineman. Love them both. And this couple lives next door to the Gru household, and they must be kept in the dark about the Anti-Villain League and espionage and such, although their conniving tween daughter is a would-be supervillain herself. And she's trying to blackmail Gru into teaching her all his villainous ways. So there's that supposed tension. Yes, Despicable Me 4 is a load of color-popping frenzy with scads of slapstick humor and Minions hijinks. I mean, the Anti-Villain League experiences a little shortfall in firepower, so they experiment on 5 of the Minions to turn them into a superpowered task force. But it is literally all over the map, and with scenes that don't advance the story, such as it is, and aren't as hilarious as they want to be, it just didn't sit well with me. And here's the weirdest thing about it. The script is co-written by Mike White, who is immensely talented. He's the guy who created and wrote School of Rock and the White Lotus TV series, and those are just 2 of his impressive efforts. But this is woefully lacking in much genuine wit or strong story elements. You know, any familial warmth that tries to generate for the Gru clan and, you know, Gru the father loving Gru the son is kind of weak sauce. Would I call this, you know, great? No. It's directed by Illumination vet Chris Renault, who has frankly done better. I guess I'm kind of over Gru in the gang. Would I call it despicable? Me? No. It's just what I'd have to say about the speed of a middling Saturday morning cartoon, despite all the bucks it costs to put such a glossy extravaganza to the big screen. It's in theaters. I think it's going to play well at home for families, but I was not impressed.
Wow. He says his pass on Despicable Me 4.
Yes. All right. I do want
Villainy
to
is
talk
a dirty
about.
word, by the way. Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
want to talk about the sequel that I really dug immensely, and that's Maxxine with 3 X's in the middle. This is the third of Ty West's trilogy of horror, starring the young actress Mia Goth, who has been incredible. In the first 2 films, X, which is about a porn shoot on a farm in the early 80s that goes terribly bad, as in like hatchets and horrible gory death. And then the second of the films is a prequel about one of the characters in X, Pearl, who is an older woman on the farm in X. And in Pearl, you meet her as a young woman and see what molded her into the person she would become. again, played by Mia Goth, and it is a terrific film on all fronts. It's a great horror movie. It's a great character study. And then after this prequel, Ty West has come up with a sequel to X, and that is Maxxxine. Now, Maxxxine is kind of a survivor. She survived the dangers of X and finally has made it to Hollywood. Maxxxine Minx, who is played to a fare thee well by Mia Goth, she is a porn star, but she wants to be famous, and that might mean making it big in Hollywood, in the wild, new wavy 1980s as a legit actress, or maybe doing something more notorious. Kevin Bacon, by the way, is in this thing, and he's fantastic as an amoral private detective. Bobby Cannavale and Michelle Monaghan are two LA police detectives. Giancarlo Esposito is Maxxine's agent who will do anything for his client. Elizabeth Debicki, who was so good in The Night Manager and was in the Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie and all the a few other great things. She was in The Crown, I believe. She plays a director of horror movies, a woman in the 80s who's making her way through the Hollywood machine. Lily Collins, that's right. It's unbelievable. But Emily in Paris is here as a starlet who is playing the lead in Debicki's character's first big hit, The Puritan. And Maxxxine might be on her way when she's cast in The Puritan 2, but the Night Stalker is plaguing L.A., looking for and killing young women, and there may be another sinister force terrorizing Hollywood in Maxxxine. Mia Goth is so good. The tongue-in-cheek stuff about Hollywood, the references to famous horror movies and Italian giallo horror movies, which are very, very gory. That's all going on here. You remember the Manson cult and all that stuff from the 70s. There are whiffs of cults here in Maxxxine. I got a total kick out of this thing. It is the least of these three movies, by the way, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a roaring good time and bloody fun. Maxxxine is in theaters, and we'll see.
It's a horror movie, Michael. It's scary.
It's a horror movie, but it's also a satire of Hollywood, and it also is a lovely period piece with all kinds of new wave and punk music on the soundtrack, and disco tunes, and a lot of colorful stuff going on Hollywood Boulevard. There is a scene, on Hollywood Boulevard, you have out-of-work actors playing famous icons like Charlie Chaplin and Superman. There was a scene with one of those guys that I absolutely loved. This is not as funny as I think it wanted to be, but I still got a big kick out of it. And the adventures of Maxxxine Minx are, definitely worth checking out, particularly if you like horror movies. And
is it scary, Michael Snyder?
There are moments, if you haven't watched the other movies, I wouldn't recommend watching this anyway, Mark. It's one of those things.
Oh, that's too bad, because you've intrigued me. I kind of want to watch this one, but you're saying you do need to see the other two.
Yeah, and X is a more conventional horror film. Pearl is a really fascinating character study, like I said. I really enjoyed I've enjoyed all three films, and I am a big Mia Goth fan. And everybody thought so highly of those movies that top-notch actors like Kevin Bacon and Bobby Cannavale and Debicki and Monaghan and Esposito all showed up for this one. And let me tell you, even the idea that Lily Collins, who played Emily in Paris, might be facing an axe at some point after those excruciating Emily in Paris episodes, that was enough to get me into the theater.
Talk to me about the Axel Foley movie. I'm curious about this Beverly Hills Cop thing. Well, you're going to get to this?
All right. Now, dude, if you wanted to woo a former lover, right, you might start with an invitation to an intimate dinner. And then that tete-a-tete would certainly be enhanced by playing a little music on the sound system, songs associated with your relationship from back in the day to sort of sweeten up your target. Am I right?
Okay.
So Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F., the fourth Beverly Hills Cop movie, makes very sure to lean in on Harold Faltermeyer's sprightly Axel F. theme, that little synth pop thing that everybody loved, and also blatantly tosses in Glenn Fry's The Heat Is On and the Pointer Sisters' Neutron Dance, all familiar needle drops from earlier Beverly Hills Cop movies, starting with the 1984 one that began back in the day. And are we hedging our bets? I would say so. Nostalgia, escapism, and commercial expedience, those are all reasons for doing a fourth Beverly Hills Cop movie so late in the game. And this is, decades after that weak third one in the franchise, which took a little luster off what I thought were two really, really good ones. I loved the first Beverly Hills Cop film. And again, talk about hedging your bets. They bring back a lot of the actors from the first three films to make sure you're really in love with this thing. So these are movies about inner city Detroit cop Axel Foley, played by Eddie Murphy, now a little stockier, but definitely a better actor. And Foley is tossed into the upscale glamour of Beverly Hills in these movies, where he has to fight a more high-end but no less vile version of criminal activity than he faced in Detroit. And now he's back at work in his hometown as a detective on the Detroit police force. He's still wearing that Detroit Lions jacket from the other movies. He's now, though, estranged from his daughter, who was an L.A. lawyer, until Billy, his old partner on the Beverly Hills police force, goes missing on a case. Yeah, like I said, Billy is again played by Judge Reinhold. The Beverly Hills police force captain is again played by John Ashton, and so on. But there is new blood as Foley teams up with a new partner played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt and teams with his daughter played by Taylor Page to rescue Billy and bring down a drug ring. And guess what? It's Kevin Bacon week. Kevin Bacon is back here as an internal affairs cop. You just can't get enough of Kevin Bacon sizzling on the screen as usual. Anyway, this movie is on Netflix, and it is pretty much by the numbers. If you like the other movies, the makers of this film, which include a director, Mark Malloy, and a team of screenwriters, they figure you're going to like this. They pull out, it's like playing the old hits. It's like going to see the Rolling Stones, and you're waiting to hear, Jumpin' Jack Flash, and I can't get no satisfaction. I got mild satisfaction from Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. It's on Netflix. I thought it was maybe better than Bad Boys 4, but boy, that is damning with faint praise.
Wow. So you didn't love it. You kind of just sort of were in reluctant like with it.
Well, yeah. I mean, they brought back Bronson Pinchot as Surge. Paul Reiser's here as Axel's old partner. I mean, again, talk about hedging bets. And honestly, I wasn't offended by it. I just thought it was, product. My preface earlier was to point out why these movies are made. I thought it was very valid to go into that earlier on.
Yeah, no, that's right. I was going to say, see your little treatise that you did at the beginning of the segment about the fact that it's just crass commercialism, which is making the decisions in Hollywood and directing creative projects. All right. What else do you have? We're running a little behind.
Quickly, I won't get into any great depth, but Mother, Couch is a very ambitious movie that sort of falls flat despite the presence of Ewan McGregor and also Reese Ifans as two brothers and Lara Flynn Boyle as their sister, all estranged from one another and dealing with a very bulky elderly mother played by Ellen Burstyn. It starts in a furniture store in some kind of desolate area of some suburban town. And Mom, played by Burstyn, plops herself down on a couch in this furniture store that's about to close and refuses to get up. And this movie spins out from this. And over the course of the film, family secrets are revealed. People go head to head. There's arguments. There are sleepovers in this large and sprawling furniture store that is on the verge of closing. And by the way, is run by a pair of elderly twins played by F. Murray Abram. So we have, again, hotshot cast here, and it's an ambitious movie written and directed by Nicholas Larson, and it just didn't quite work for me. It's almost like magical surrealism, some of the things that go down here, and it just kind of plods forward. I will say that young Taylor Russell, who was in the movie Bones and All and played Judy Robinson in the Lost in Space series on Netflix, is quite good as the daughter of one of the twins. And everybody kind of tries to bring their A game. And I say try because they're dealing with such a strange and bizarre movie. It's just bizarre.
Oh, wow. It's kind of, I was kind of getting excited about it till you sort of said it kind of just misses.
It's in select theaters. It might be something worth watching when it's available for streaming, but mostly because the performances, despite how weird this script is and how unsatisfying the whole project ends up being, the performances are quite good. So there you go.
I think as you speak about it, I think of that movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is also kind of had a weirdness and surreality about it, or surrealism.
Yeah, absolutely. But that dazzled, while this one sort of is a little on the flat side.
I see. Okay. Mother Couch, it's called. That's Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
And Laura Flynn Boyle's in it, along with F. Murray Abraham. Man, somehow it misses.
Yeah, Ellen Burstyn. Ellen Burstyn is mom.
Oh, yeah, Ellen Burstyn. That's right, as the mother, right?
She's horrifying. She's more horrifying than anything in Maxxxine, I think. No,
I'd love to just to see her work. I think is great. But sounds like it's one you wait for the streaming if you want to check it out. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. It's a nostalgic romp. But Michael Snyder, the culture blaster, says it's really more commercialism and dusting off the old commercial elements that worked in Beverly Hills Cop and then bringing them together with some new people associated with this project besides Eddie Murphy, that is. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael was saying, plays his partner. You got Taylor Page and Judge Reinhold and John Ashton and Paul Reiser and Bronson Pinchot and Kevin Bacon, who appears again in another film that Michael reviewed. But he says, look, it just feels like a ride through commercialism. Not awful, just not really, as a creative project, a ton there. Maxxxine is the one that Michael suggests is the third of Ty West's horror trilogy. It's the sequel to X. She is a porn star who wanted to make it big in Hollywood. This Maxxxine Minx. Mia Goth is the star. Elizabeth Debicki is in the movie.
She's the director. She's the director who hires Maxxxine and is going to give Maxxxine a legit career.
Oh. Michelle Monaghan is in the film as a detective alongside Bobby Cannavale. And Lily Collins is in it along with Giancarlo Esposito. I mean, it's really got a lot of people. And, of course, Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon is the best thing about both of the movies he's in this week. I was like, yeah, Kevin, we love you.
He's a talented guy. Yeah. And then we started with, so on Maxxxine, Michael liked it. He actually thought, and I think liked it is sort of the way I would term the way you responded, which is you felt it was an okay sequel, not the best in the series, but it wasn't bad, wasn't as funny, you said, as that perhaps that they felt it would likely be, but notwithstanding that, you really enjoyed it. You did say that you should see the other two before seeing this third one, is the point.
I think so. It is the least of the three, but I don't want to let that damn it. I really enjoyed watching it. I mean, Mia Goth, everything I've seen her in, I've been riveted to the screen. She's really something else.
I really wanted to see this movie, but Michael said, well, you didn't see the first two, dude, so you're really out of the game. So, all right.
If you don't mind a little blood and gore, Mark, you could probably watch it. I don't know that it's so necessary. It's not like, you going to see part 2 of the Avengers Infinity Wars after not seeing part 1. That would have been, God, that would have been a sin.
That would have been, right, that would have been malpractice, entertainment malpractice in your view.
Yeah.
All right. And we started with Despicable Me 4. And Michael says, it's hard to imagine that they could mine the Despicable Me franchise too much until you see Despicable Me 4, apparently, which pretty much points up, despite great cast and brilliant visuals, it's just not there. And Despicable Me 4 is a pass from the Culture Blaster.
The best thing we could do with the Minions is maybe use them for target practice. That's about the only thing I can say.
How dare you speak of them that way. Find Michael in The Voice of San Francisco. He writes there quite wonderfully. His reflections can be found, and the voicesf.org is the website. Thevoicesf.org is the website. Look for Michael Snyder by name. Thevoicesf.org. .org. And he is known as the Culture Blaster across social media, and on his Instagram is Mike the Knife 123, and where he has some fireworks that he photographs. So, I mean, that's everything, Michael. I've given you all the plugs. I've given you all the good wishes. I've given you a warm welcome. I'm utterly enthralled by the job you've done today. And, yes, and it's time to say farewell. Bye-bye, Michael.
Everyone, go Giants. See you next week.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.